Hello, my fellow subjects of the internet out there. This is the Aromantic Shipper back again with yet another video. So, Velma 2023, a show that has seemingly united the entire internet in utter disgust. I mean, from the get-go, it was obvious the show was going to piss off a lot of people because, racism and homophobia, but it's definitely not just reactionary right-wingers that Velma has drawn the ire of. No matter what your tastes are, whether you're a Scooby-Doo fan, not a Scooby-Doo fan, whether you're left-wing, liberal, conservative, every single person seems to be united in hatred for this show. And it's not like I was really any different a few weeks ago. I hadn't actually watched the show because I had no interest in it, but I had seen some clips taken out of context on YouTube that seemed pretty cringe.
You know what 420 is, right?
Yeah. It's code for adults who still watch cartoon.
And, a bunch of cartoon YouTubers I respected were talking a bunch of shit about it, so I just assumed, yeah, of course it's terrible. There's no way it can't be if every single person on the internet thinks it's bad, right? Well, here's the thing. The internet is not always the best representative of what general audiences think about something. I mean, I remember when nearly the entire internet was united in hatred of the Star Wars prequels. But that certainly didn't mean the prequels were ever universally hated. The internet just seems to have a way of promoting the most reactionary and angriest voices to the forefront. I wanted to really see if the internet consensus was actually accurate, so after the show ended, I actually looked at some of the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and other sites, and yeah, there were a lot of 1 stars, but what surprised me is that the second most common type of review I found online were actually 5 stars. Weirdly enough, while the majority of people seem to absolutely despise this show, there is a minority of people who seem to absolutely love it. I loved it, and I love how it called out things in society. People don't like it because it's real. Even though the storyline is not the same as the original, it's still extremely entertaining. As someone who has seen every single Scooby-Doo show and movie out there, this was by far such a fresh take on the story. And when I saw this, it really piqued my interest. Could it actually be true? Is Velma 2023 actually a good show? Well, I already had an HBO Max subscription to watch The Last of Us and Harley Quinn, so I thought, I have some time, why not check out Velma? It's not like I'm paying extra money just to see it. So I did watch Velma, and even though I was absolutely prepared to hate this show like everybody else, I gotta say, I just didn't. I found myself actually enjoying it, and the quality of the season only improved as it went on. Maybe I've just gone crazy or something, but in my opinion, this is probably my favorite Scooby-Doo property I've ever watched. Which is weird because Scooby-Doo isn't even in it, but whatever, you know what I mean. Now, I know by me saying this, I have probably resulted in about 90% of my viewers hitting the unsubscribe button, but hear me out, okay? First, allow me to address some of the criticisms a lot of people levy at the show before talking more in depth about it. One of the most common criticisms of Velma is that it just doesn't feel like a Scooby-Doo show. Not only do the characters in the series have wildly different personalities to how they have been portrayed in the past, but as I mentioned before, Scooby-Doo isn't even in the show. Now, I can see why longtime Scooby-Doo fans might not like this, and I think the idea that removing Scooby-Doo somehow made the show more adult, quote-unquote, is pretty ridiculous. However, I am not really a diehard Scooby-Doo fan. I used to watch it all the time as a kid, but most Scooby-Doo content isn't really that appealing to me nowadays. I mean, even Mystery Incorporated, which is held up as peak Scooby-Doo, I think is just kind of okay, honestly. So for me, I really wasn't super upset at the changes that were made. I mean, I really go by the mantra that any change to the original source material is perfectly valid if it is actually enjoyable and works. But that brings us to the second criticism levied against the show, which is that the characters, particularly Velma, are extremely unlikable. And for now, I'll just touch on the main character, Velma, and my response to people saying that she is unlikable is, yeah, she is unlikable. That's intentional. I think so many people forget that an unlikable character is not necessarily a bad character. I mean, in Mystery Incorporated, the Scooby-Doo show everyone loves, Velma also isn't really that nice either, and she has a lot of snark and bile to her. However, she changes and becomes a better person and better friend over time. That's the same thing Velma is doing with its main character. The show is very aware that she is not a good person and is crafting a narrative where she gets better over time. You know, character development. Another thing that people complain about Velma is that it's woke. Oh, it's woke. And, you know, I remember when the word woke used to actually mean something. Now it apparently just means when a character is some type of minority. Yes, Shaggy and Velma and Daphne are race-swapped. Yes, Velma and Daphne are queer, but that doesn't fucking mean the show is woke. Now, the show does make fun of white people a lot, and a lot of jokes are made at the expense of Fred's manhood, but the show also makes jokes about, like, the Me Too movement, and makes fun of triggered snowflakes.
We just learned someone somewhere is being intolerant.
Honestly, after watching the show, it kind of seems like the show's target of mockery is, well, everybody. It doesn't really have a left-wing bias. Also, apparently Mindy Kaling, the voice of Velma, is transphobic and likes J.K. Rowling, so yeah, not exactly the progressive champion she is being berated as. Regardless, my stance is, and has always been, that the political beliefs of a creator and the political messages portrayed in a piece of media should not ruin your enjoyment of it. There are plenty of things I love that have political messages I strongly disagree with. People on both the left and the right need to stop getting so fucking triggered by getting their fifis hurt by Velma. Another thing that a lot of people seem to be really pissed off about Velma is that the show sexualizes underage teenagers. And the reason they say this is because in the first episode, there are a bunch of scenes with fully naked high schoolers. That is pretty obviously supposed to be fan service for the audience. And yeah, I'm really not going to defend this one. It's really gross and incredibly uncomfortable. If this show was supposed to be geared towards an adult audience, why would you not make the characters actual adults in college? There's just no excuse for sexualizing minors. What I will say, though, is that Velma is hardly the only show to do this. I mean, anime sexualizes young teenagers all the fucking time. There are still a bunch of weebs arguing over whether Asuka or Rei is the better waifu, despite the fact that both of them are fucking 14 years old. Again, like I said, not defending Velma for its underage fan service, but if people can still enjoy anime despite it oftentimes being worse in that regard, I personally think this uncomfortable aspect of the Velma show is something that can be looked past. Finally, the last major criticism of Velma 2023 is that the show is just not funny. I mean, I'm sure you've seen a lot of the most famous clips being passed around the internet as examples of the show's humor being incredibly cringy, and it's true that there are a few cringy jokes in the series. Like, you know, not every joke works. In particular, I think the writers were really finding their footing with the first two episodes. However, the comedic writing is honestly pretty solid from that point on. I mean, there are times where I honestly found myself laughing out loud watching the show. There are really funny jokes in Velma that get overlooked. Overall, I would definitely say that there are a lot more good jokes than there are bad jokes in the series. But apart from the humor, there are just so many other great aspects to appreciate about the series. First of all, the animation it's good, and can actually look really impressive at times, like during the panic attack scenes. The story and mystery is honestly really engaging once it picks up, and the show has some pretty clever social commentary. But of course, me just saying that probably isn't going to convince any of you watching. So, without further ado, let's just get into it. And of course, spoilers for the series ahead. The rest of this video will be me giving my in-depth thoughts on why Velma 2023 is good at...
Got him! Got him! Oh!
I'm out past curfew, and I think the movie Serpico is boring. What are you gonna do about that?
Is she dead?
As for my actual opinion on Velma, I didn't watch it. Stop hate watching things. It's not healthy.